You're in LA for a week and you're already like a full TV mode producer. Fucker. Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I'm Fred Labert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintrop coming us live from California. How are you doing, Seth?
Good. We're a little late today. That's my bad. It took me a little longer than I thought to get to the Aptera plant where I'm at now, and we're working on a story here. But for now, we're doing the podcast live from Aptera in Carlsbad, California.
But because of the timing, we're going to probably have a lot more to talk about Aptera on the next episode of the Electrek podcast next week, because literally, like you said, he just arrived, but didn't have time to do the tour of the facility and whatnot. That's going to be next week. But we still have an Aptera news that we want to discuss later on the show. So, and pure coincidence. So that's interesting. But we're going to start, as usual, with some Tesla news. Not that much this week. Pretty slow week news for Tesla. But then plenty of other talk about like Ford changing its EV plans. We have some pricing and spec situation from the ID.Buzz, Sierra EV Denali, a little bit of Lucid news and more. But let's start with something that has been we've been talking about every week for the last few weeks is the V12.5 full self-driving from Tesla, getting it to hardware 3 vehicles. It's finally happening. So there's been a new update being pushed this week gradually. Hasn't not still made it to the completely wide release. Personally, I haven't received it, but it's growing right now. So it looks like it's probably going to reach like wide release level this weekend, hopefully. It's 2024.26.15, and it does include V12.5.3, I think, or maybe .4 at this point. On hardware 3 vehicles. Now, I thought I had that tweet on there. There was a mention on from Ashok on it. Let me find it. I thought I put it, but it didn't update. That give us a little bit of details of what it took to get there, to get to integrating 12.5 into the hardware 3. So Ashok says we were able to achieve similar performance as the AI4, which is the rebranded hardware 4 computer, 12.5 release with a relatively smaller model for AI3, which is hardware 3. So yeah, it's not the exact same model. It is a smaller model that they had to make it fit. Deploying the larger model requires us to implement a few kernels in the compiler to emulate the same operation that are natively supported on the hardware 4. The team is actively working on implementing and refining those operations. So there's still plan to have the model, the 12.5 model running on hardware 4 to make it hardware 3. So it's not going to be always this smaller 12.5 model. Combined with other model compression techniques, we think we can run the same 12.5 model on both the hardware platform in the future. No timeline, no 10 days like Elon said last time. That said, model parameter count is just one of the many axes of performance improvement. Data set distribution, data set quality, model architecture, training, compute also have tremendous impact on the final performance. So, this is obviously a bummer. We do have 12.5 on hardware 3 vehicles, which is millions of vehicles in globally, though obviously FSD is not available globally. Now Ashok is leaving some optimism, some room in the future, saying that we have there's still other things we can do to optimize the model in order to run on hardware 3. So it's not just compression, it's not just using a smaller version of the same model. But if anything, I think it confirms what we've been saying over the last few weeks now, that Tesla is certainly getting a lot closer to the limit of hardware 3, having to run a smaller model to make it, having to use compression to make it right now. And 12.5 is just nowhere near the level of self-driving that was promised, which is, an unsupervised level of self-driving. So now it again raises the question, if we already need to have compression, already need to use smaller models to run on hardware 3 without it being nowhere near close to unsupervised self-driving. Everything that needs to happen to get there, what are the chances that will be able to run on hardware 3? Personally, I think it's extremely low at this point. Like, I cannot confirm that it's not going to happen, but we are at 200 miles per intervention, per critical intervention now on 12.5. and we need to be at 100, 1,000 times more than that to make it make sense for unsupervised. It's just I don't see it happening. What do you
Yeah,
think,
and it
Seth?
gets harder the closer you get to the goal. Each step gets harder and harder, so it's not linear.
Yeah, Tesla has talked about 12.5 adding a bunch of parameters that increase the size of the model. There's going to be a ton of other parameters. Obviously, there's some of them that are going to fall out too. That's going to be outdated over time. You had some, you lose some that are not required anymore. So the model will get more efficient in the future, but also is going to get a lot bigger before it gets to level 4 or 5. So it's just very unlikely to me. And now it raises the question: what does Tesla do about this? And that has been the bigger question this week, and that has been something that I don't know. You've been traveling a lot, Said. I don't know how much time you spend on Tesla X lately, but it's been the talk of the week, where you had a lot of the Elon lemmings out there that are starting to introduce the idea that Elon never promised unsupervised robotaxi level self-driving on Hardware 3, which is a complete lie,
I saw your
obviously. But
tweet on that. You
yeah,
and
I mean
called out Omar and
yeah, this is extremely worrying, because now they are trying to introduce this idea. They are opening the door for Elon to have an exit here, which obviously, like, we don't know that he's going to take that exit. I hope not. I hope he has a little bit more honor than that. And obviously, there's like so much footage on him promising this over the last few years that it would be quite nuts if he does take that door. But I hate to see the lemmings just opening that door in the first place. Because I think we're going towards what is going to be either a giant multi-billion-dollar repurchase program, or several hundred millions, if not the multi-billion dollars, retrofit program. Now, Elon in the past has said that it wouldn't be financially viable to retrofit hardware 3 to hardware 4. Now, it's not exactly where he said that, because why he said that, because there's the compute aspect of the hardware 4 upgrade, but there's also the cameras have upgraded on hardware 4. So obviously, I think at the camera level, you cannot just change all the cameras in the Tesla vehicle and being viable, financially viable. So that would make sense. But maybe if the compute power is the real problem, then maybe there's a new, like, instead of a 3 to 4 upgrade, you have a new 3 to a new 3.5 upgrade, that Tesla just build a new computer that does fit in the hardware 3 system, and that replace it. That's a possibility too, but it's also a huge program. And so a lot of people are discussing right now just how big of a retrofit program that would be, because a lot of people are talking. Okay, we're talking about just repurchasing or refunding the full self-driving package, for example, which would be the best case scenario, I think, for Tesla in this case. But the thing is, like, the lawsuits are coming on that front and everything, but I do expect some people are going to make the argument that Tesla should repurchase their whole car, because they were promised a car that would be full self-driving, and they bought the car with that promise, and now Tesla is not able to deliver that promise. So there's this potential too of like people asking for like fully being reimbursed for the vehicle, and I don't know how much of a legal leg they'll be standing on for that argument, but I definitely see it, people at least attempting that. So yeah, that's basically the update on full self-driving and hardware 3 this week. I've been keeping track again of the FSD tracker now that Elon has given his seal of approval on that data, and it's not getting better. Now we have, let me see. So yeah, the new update is 12.5.1.5, by the way. So now when it comes to 12.5, we have just over 9,000 miles, and it's still, like I said, about 200 miles between critical disengagement, 214 to be exact, and 41 miles between overall disengagement, which a lot of people don't like to use, partly because it makes Tesla use look so bad, but also because, to be fair, a lot of people have varying degrees of what it takes to initiate a disengagement. So it can be just navigation issues, which Tesla still needs to fix, by the way, so I think those should count, and they do account for a big part of the disengagement They're not, navigation. Well, not that much. The biggest one is still the lane. Can't even read that, lane issues. Anyway, not looking great, the data is. All right. Oops, I went the wrong page here. Then we have a bunch of Tesla semi news, starting with Tesla Megacharger, which is the charging station that Tesla is using to charge the Tesla Semi, as this special connector that we see here. And we haven't seen a lot of new Megachargers being deployed. There's one in California, between California and Nevada. There's another one at PepsiCo's or Frito-Lay's facility distribution center north of Los Angeles. Modesto, is it? I think something like that. There's only a few right now, and they are all basically in California and specifically at customers' distribution centers. So it was interesting to see this one show up in Utah. It's apparently in two. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but apparently it's not even in that actual town. It's like the town over, but this is like the bigger town around. So that's, people call it that specific supercharger station. But it's in Utah, which is surprising because we don't know of any Tesla Semi clients in Utah or Tesla's operation in Utah, because most of the Tesla Semi on the road right now are either in Tesla's own operation, mostly between the Fremont factory and the Gigafactory in Nevada near Reno, and at PepsiCo Frito-Lay, which again is in California, unless they're expanding their Tesla Semi operation in Utah. So this is a strange look to see it here. And what's interesting too is it's a mobile mega chargers. We've seen Tesla deploy superchargers like that, but it's on a skid, and you have the cabinet, the mega charger cabinets, and the stall on the same skid that can be quickly deployed and connected to the grid. Though I don't know what's the actual charge rate on this, because with one single cabinet, just like a supercharger cabinet, I doubt it's megawatt charging, as the name implies. Mega charger, megawatt charging. The last Tesla Semi news that we want to discuss. Oh no, that's not right. There was I almost forgot about this because it was earlier in the week. But there was a Tesla Semi fire that happened near the Nevada-California border in California. So this was reported by Cal Fire this week. Apparently on the highway, there's not much information on it right now. So this is just, we don't even know exactly if there was a crash. So the California fire didn't mention a crash, but now the NTSB, which are federal regulators when it comes to transportation, have announced that they are investigating this crash. They didn't mention a crash, but again, we don't. This is the remains of the Tesla Semi that we're seeing right now. All of this reported there was a lithium battery fire, but at the same time, this could be like a truck fire. Or this could be, we know that the Tesla Semi is transporting battery packs between Gigafactory Nevada and Fremont. So it could be also the packs that they're transporting that caught on fire. It's not clear. We should know more because NTSB is investigating the situation. But in their own announcement that they're investigating the situation, they said that the Tesla Semi's engine caught on fire. So it's far from being clear, since obviously electric trucks don't have engines. But it is somewhat significant because there's not that many Tesla Semis on the road right now. There's we estimate about 100 of them. So if one caught on fire, this is automatically a high percentage rate that caught on fire. Obviously, Nikola had its own issue with electric truck fires, and there was like quite a few that caught on fires, and I think they had less than 100 in operation too. So something to keep an eye on. But statistically speaking, there's no evidence that electric vehicles catch on fire at any higher rate than fossil fuel-powered vehicles, which shouldn't be surprising because gasoline is highly inflammable. All right, now, last Tesla Semi news. A Tesla Semi has been spotted in Europe, which is interesting because it's not authorized on European roads, and sure enough, it's not on the road. It's being carried by another truck. So this is raised a lot of questions this week. People are like, why is it Tesla Semi in Europe? It's probably just for show right now, because we did learn that IAA Transportation, which is not the same IAA show we used to go to in Munich, but they have a different one that is just for like commercial vehicles in Hanover, Germany. They did announce IAA that they're going to be at Tesla Semi there this year, so this is probably it. But this is still in a few weeks, so it's surprising to see it a little bit that soon, really. But at the same time, Elon recently said that Tesla plans to bring the Tesla Semi to production at Gigafactory Berlin. And ahead of that, there's gonna be a need to adapt the truck to European trucking regulations. So probably maybe this vehicle is already there to do some of that work ahead of the show and ahead of the plan to build the Tesla Semi in Berlin. But you know what? Despite the fire, obviously we need to learn more about that. But the Tesla Semi is probably the official new vehicle program at Tesla that I'm like most excited about, like robotaxi. It's nothing exciting until Tesla actually solves self-driving. So having a vehicle dedicated to self-driving without solving self-driving, I don't think there's much value in that. And obviously, I think I'm a little bit more skeptical and less optimistic than Elon when it comes to the timeline of solving self-driving. Then the Cybertruck, I reviewed it like with mixed reviews, but somewhat positively because I think there's a lot of cool tech in the Cybertruck. But as a vehicle program, based on pricing and specs, it's just it's not that exciting to me. Like I think there's other electric pickup trucks that are more exciting, and I don't think it's going to be Tesla saying 250,000 per year. I think that's going to be about it, which is not breaking in the top 5 of the best-selling pickup trucks in the world. So not really that excited about that. I think that Tesla Semi can have a major impact on accelerating the advent of electric trucking in the trucking industry, just from Tesla's ability to make them in higher volume than what's already available in the Class 8 electric sector, and also profitably. If Tesla can make them profitable, which has been Tesla's force in the EV industry, they are making electric vehicles for a profit, which is not the case of most of their competitor. And I don't think that Tesla is going to make the Tesla Semi in volume until it can make it a profit, which is why there's been such a big gap in the official start of production in late 2022 and high volume production at the new factory, which apparently now is going to happen in late 2025, late next year. So yeah, and now if all goes well for that, and I think everything is pointing in that direction. Tesla took their time with it. They needed obviously the battery supply for it too, which battery supply is not as big of an issue as it was in the EV industry a few years ago. So with that in place, if Tesla is really confident about making the Tesla Semi profitably in the US, it makes sense too that they would bring that to Europe, and that I think that's might be what we're seeing right now, which is exciting. Because trucking is also a big part of emission into the transportation system. So if you can remove that part, and also there's what's most exciting about the commercial is the electrification of commercial vehicle is that those vehicle the cells are mostly made on Excel sheets. Basically, the people are just calculated how it's going to cost to update their fleet with the maintenance cost, with the fuel costs, fuel savings, and all that. And you don't need necessarily to convince them with like the looks, which is all good, with the range anxiety, all that stuff. It's more it's more like on paper. And on paper, electric vehicles look very good. So if, again, we don't have all the detail of the Tesla Semi yet, especially when it comes to pricing and all that, but Tesla is accumulating a lot of data on them right now. So I would assume that if they're moving to volume production, it's starting to look good. So I think this could happen like really quick if we have the volume to make it happen. And Tesla is known for the volume. I think this could happen like super quick. All right, we have not so much good news when it comes to Ford this week. They announced kind of a revamping of their electric vehicle plans, and it included the removal of, for example, they have canceled their plan for a third-row electric SUV. That's gone. They confirmed plans that have been all the rumors around for a while of a cheaper electric pickup truck. So now the project is called Project T3. It's been made official. The plan is to bring it to production in 2027, if I'm not mistaken. Suppose from second half of 2027 is going to be the launch. Also Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, signaled with this change of plan again. New pickup truck, cheaper pickup truck, kill the SUV that's coming in 2026, and confirm that they're going to go a little bit heavier on hybrids. So it's a similar announcement that GM made a few months ago. So they're seeing a slowdown. They're using the slowdown in demand for electric vehicles, which, they had their hands in slowing it down themselves, I think. But they're using that slowdown in demand as an excuse to slowing down their own electrification plan. And they plan to use more hybrids and plug-in hybrids because the incentive are still somewhat charitable for those. All right, we have plenty of other news to discuss, but before we get into it, I do like to remind you that if you enjoy the Electrek Podcast, we do appreciate when you give us a thumbs up, a like, or subscribe. All these things, they help the show a ton. They're free to do, and we appreciate when you do it. If you're listening on your podcast app right now, we got a bunch of 5-star review last week. I read them all. Appreciate them. If you haven't put a 5-star review yet, and you want to take just the 2 seconds that it takes to do it, we appreciate when you do it, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to our podcast. We appreciate it. And in a few minutes, when we get through these few more news that we want to discuss, we're going to get to your comment section. So if you guys have questions for us, we have some of the usuals that are here already. I see Dan is there. I see Carl is there. If you have questions for us, you can put them in the comment section right now. We're going to get to them in just a few minutes. All right. The VW ID.Buzz microbus van, whatever you want to call it. It's been delayed a lot in the US, but it's finally coming. And now we have the pricing and the final specs on them. And it starts at $60,000 for the base tier, which is called Pro S.
Pricey.
It's a bit confusing with those. And the Pro, like the ID.4 is it's the base one, but it's Pro.
Right.
Like the contrary to the iPhones. And then you have the S Plus, which starts at $63,500. You have to have $4,500 if you want to go all-wheel drive with that. And what does the Plus bring you before the all-wheel drive? Not clear. It's probably just an interior upgrade, something like that. The rear-wheel drive model brings you 234 miles of range. The all-wheel drive only lose 3 miles of range, 231 miles APA. So that's good.
Yeah, as others have said, that's not a lot of range for what many people consider a trip car. If there's anything that VW could probably improve upon, I think adding a little bit more range, whether that's by efficiency or by adding battery, that would, I think, be greatly appreciated.
And we only get the big battery here too. So
right.
In Europe they have a smaller battery option, but Volkswagen Group tends not to launch those in the US. So yeah, I don't have much hope for a longer range version. So you have the two-tones, has you $1,000. That's expensive because a two-tone does look pretty good. Then it's $700 if you want the captain seats in the middle row. That might be worth it.
Yep. I think most people opt for that. When we had the Kia EV9, that was like a big improvement over the bench seating. Rivian doesn't offer that quite yet, but we just saw the Volvo. Can't talk about it yet, but the Volvo EX90 has a bench option and a captain's chair option, and almost everybody was like, captain's chair for real. Mm-hmm. But if you need 7 and not 6, then there you go.
Yeah. It's gonna, with that price, $7,500 federal tax credit is gonna be applied because this thing is being made in the U.S. And in terms of timing, we are looking at October, November, so the end of the year for the first delivery. For the first delivery, I think you're gonna have to buy the first edition.
Mm-hmm.
and that one starts a little bit more expensive at 65,500 for the rear-wheel drive version. Well, not that much more expensive. And you have 20-inch wheels, first edition badging, panoramic glass roof with electrochromic tinting. Geez, that's it's kind of a high-end feature for this vehicle, I feel like. On the Rivian, the new Gen Rivian has that. All right, moving on from the ID.Buzz, we also have the first edition Sierra EV Denali that has been fully released in terms of pricing and specs. And we get a few bumps in specs. So they were talking about over 400 miles, which, we expected would be more than that because it's using the same battery pack at the Silverado EV. I think basically, if I'm not an expert in these trucks, but all these, especially GM has, different brands, but I think GMC is it's very similar to the Chevy pickup trucks, the Silverado, but it's just a little bit more high-end. You have the Hummer EV, obviously, but the Sierra is like the equivalent to the Silverado, but, a little bit more luxurious, I would assume. I think that's the logic. Yeah, so 440 miles of range, 4.5 seconds, 0 to 60. I think they bumped a little bit the payload too. Yeah, they boosted the 10,000 pound max payload by 500 pounds, and max, that's a towing facility, and payload from up 150 pounds to 1,450. That's cool. 250 kilowatt charging, 100 miles in just 10 minutes. So that's like Hummer EV. They have the crab walk again, just like those. Pricing starting at $100,000. So it's a little bit cheaper than what was previously announced, $107,000. So that's good. That's rare for this market.
Yeah, they got it under 100. Wow, good for them.
I'm sure they're losing some money on this. Yeah, I mean, luxury level, it does look like a slight upgrade on the Silverado EV.
Yeah,
looks pretty good actually.
Yeah, I
was supposed to get the Hummer, GMC Hummer for last week, but apparently they're having some issues with the press fleet in Canada here.
Oh. It's probably like one or two of them, right?
Apparently they had a few in Canada, but they brought they supposedly brought one in Quebec for me, but there was a part missing, and it's been 3 weeks now. They're supposed to get it to me, and they can't. So can't wait to experience my first GMC electric vehicle. Lucid had some new comments this week. So there was a report from CarBuzz about some new comments from Derek Jenkins, who's the VP of design at Lucid, that talk about 3 new affordable electric vehicles coming from the luxury brand, and after the Gravity that's launching soon. And we reached out to get a little bit more details, and they confirmed that's true. They say that it's going to be a mid-size program. So it's going to be sort of like 3 new, cheaper vehicle based on a mid-size platform. What else?
They're basically doing the Tesla plan, right?
Yeah, it sounds like very similar to the Hair was Tesla, was the S to Tesla, and then the Gravity is what the X was to Tesla, and now we're gonna see probably like a crossover mid-size SUV, and sedan, or maybe it would be smart to make a hatchback or something like that. So, but it is not a lot of details. When they talk, they killed the wagon idea, so no wagon. They talked about a rugged off-road one, and so Jenkins said that it would make sense to get in that space. He likes the fact that it makes sense because you start to get the benefit of 2 worlds. Slightly sleeker, slightly more car-like vehicle, but you ruggedize, new word for me, it to give you a little bit more of that robustness and durability. There's a whole new category of product that could be on the drawing board of many companies. So sounds like Lucid is one of those companies, with every bit of focus on aero efficiency and space, which has been already what Lucid has been doing. at the value that many people can access. So obviously, the Lucid Air now starts at $70,000, so it wouldn't be too difficult to make something a little bit cheaper than that. But you need to make it in higher volume. That's the thing, though, and make it profitable, which hasn't been really the case for Lucid so far. Now let's talk a little bit about where you are right now, Aptera. So Aptera has been teasing these production intent vehicle that they're working on right now, especially production intent 1 and 2, which has been worked on for a little bit. They've been teasing it on social media, and maybe you'll get to see them, or maybe we'll get an update next week to see about that. But this week, Aptera shared on X new post about a shipment that they got from Italy, where they are making their bodies for the Aptera solar car, and apparently, so these are, you can see 3 bodies stacked up there, body parts, I should say. And so that apparently that's going to be their production intent 2, 3, and 4 that are being worked on right now. Sorry. But those production intent vehicle, are an important step for Aptera. But Aptera is also in the middle of a big fundraising, trying to raise about $60 million in convertible notes, which is the last raise that they need in order to get into their first phase of production. So this is a very critical moment for Aptera, for the company. And hopefully, Seth, you're going to be able to give us an update next week about where they are in that process.
Yep, that's the plan.
All right. In Europe, BMW has topped Tesla's EV sale for the first time, however, just for a single month. So that's according to data from JATO Dynamics, from 1.03 million vehicles registered in Europe. They calculate the market share of every one of them, especially when it comes to electric vehicles. And you can see them right there. Now, it includes PHEVs and BEVs electric vehicles, so all vehicles with a plug here. You can see that when it comes to electric vehicles, period, where it's BEV or PHEV, the Model Y is still king at 9,500 units delivered in July, but that's down 16% year over year, while the Volvo EX30 in its first year and its first July ever really was already at 6,500 units, so it's going up fast. And Volvo is second in BEVs and first in PHEVs with the XC60. So Volvo is doing very good, but the one that took over Tesla is actually BMW, but that's mainly because of because you combine PHEV and BEV here, because in BEVs, there are 6 with the iX1 and 7 with the i4, both at 4,000 units. Both together, they don't beat the Model Y. But then if you have the PHEV, you have the X1 that's offered in PHEV version, and the X5, both very popular, smaller SUVs. Well, smaller for the X1, mid-size for the X5. And they also have the 3 Series that's also offered in PHEV, which actually went down in sales, but both the X5 and X1 went up 50 and 21%. So that's the big difference here. But the iX1 and i4 are also up 20, 25, and 23% respectively. So that's good too. ID.4 is down 40%. Wow, Tesla is not the only one struggling there. But then if you go all year, though, Tesla is still... do we have the full year performance here? No, but Tesla is still up full year.
I was at Volvo earlier this week, and they think that the Volvo EX30 is going to give the Model Y a run for the money in terms of sales in Europe. They note that it started later in the year, and it's already kind of catching up to the Model Y in terms of sales. Obviously, it's less expensive. It's a smaller car. Europe likes small cars. So it has a lot of things going for it. And for them, they just say they need to ramp up the production, and that's kind of the bottleneck.
Yeah. I don't think they can catch up this year, obviously, because like you said, they started a little bit too late and they're still haven't caught up. But maybe next year, if Tesla's not doing better, because I think Tesla, last time I checked, earlier this week, they were still off about 60,000 units year over year versus last year in Europe. It's pretty wild. And that's considering also that Tesla, as last year they were still ramping up production of Model Y in Berlin. Now this year, obviously, they had some problem in the first quarter and everything, but technically, aside from those few weeks, Tesla has been full production in Gigafactory Berlin all year, higher than last year. So at least the capacity to get full production, maybe they were throttling it a little bit. All right, last piece of news. We're still in Europe before we move to your guys' comments, and that's the German auto lobby has put their own recommendation on the phase out of gasoline-powered vehicle in Europe, and they are putting the deadline at 2045. So it's a little bit less aggressive than what was already proposed at the European Commission, but it's still it's still the very industry that is doing a own recommendation on phasing out its bread and butter right now, which is still gasoline vehicles. So it's kudos to the German industry for at least recognizing that there's going to be the phase out is happening, maybe just not as fast as we wanted to, but because they're talking about 60% by 2035, 90% by 2040, 100% by 2045. I mean, 90% is already where like Norway is. Norway's over that, really. I think it's closer to 95. But the last few percentage points are hard to get.
Agree.
Yeah. All right, should we get into the comment? By the way, in the comment section too, we take your question about everything we discussed today and any other topics in the EV world. But specifically, also, if you have, we won't be able to answer them live, obviously. But if you have a question about Aptera that Seth can take note of, as he's about to go there, he's there right now, but he's about to take a look at the company a lot closer in the next few hours. So put them in the comment section right now. It's going to be useful for us, and next week we'll report back.
So Carl's already got a question about Aptera from earlier. Have they dropped the fool's errand of 100 kilowatt hours and 1,000-mile range? I think that's actually incorrect. It was 60 kilowatt hours that would give them 1,000 miles range. That seems excessive and ruins the ethos of sustainability. I don't know what their final plans are going to be. I think that vehicle with the 1,000-mile range is still being advertised. So I mean, a 60 kilowatt hour battery is not huge in the grand scheme of things. It's just that thing is so efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So, a 30 kilowatt hour battery that goes 500 miles might be the sweet spot. But
I think the first one they're making is the 40 kilowatt hour one, I think.
Yeah.
That's the plan. I think that's a sweet spot, to be honest. Like 40 kilowatt hours, like 600 miles of range.
Yeah.
Like you don't want much more than that, and it's gonna be cheaper too.
All right, Carl's in San Diego, near Carlsbad. He could have showed me his bamboo electric cargo bike. That would have been neat. Rain check on that. Let's see. One of the reasons I hung on to my 2019 Model 3 with FSD is so I can sue when Tesla finally admits they lied when I bought it.
Maybe don't admit that, Dan, because it could be used in a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So you were just looking for one rather than having a good case, which I think you would have.
All right. Do you think FSD is on the horizon for Cybertruck yet? That's right. I forgot about that. FSD is not there. It's very odd to have the newest tech vehicle without FSD and other Tesla capabilities.
Yes, Shock did mention that at the same time that he commented on the 12.5. So he says, next month is the goal for FSD on Cybertruck, September. But I think he did imply that some features will come before that. So some parking assist features should come before that. So something to look forward to.
All right. So then says Ford and GM are trying to postpone the date limit on gas car sales. The only important things for them is money for the shareholders. Well, that's certainly important, but
no, it is. We live in a capitalist world. It's what drives things, and Ford and GM won't care that much about electric vehicles until they can make money on them, and they're having issues doing that right now. There's nothing about this.
Hyundai, Kia, Genesis break out their EV profits. They're killing it along with BMW. I'm making the transition without looking back, I think we can agree that the Hyundai, Kia, Genesis group is doing quite well, especially with the EGMP stuff. The Kia EV9 is quite compelling. So yeah, they are doing well. We don't know exactly if they're profitable on EVs yet, but they're certainly putting out great products and lots of them, which is what we like to see.
Yeah, they've been. I think we can all agree that they've been like the black sheep that we didn't see coming. Like we didn't see that they were gonna be that big of a player in the industry, which makes sense too, because they are battery expert in Korea. Like they saw the
Not too,
opportunity there.
not too far from LG and Samsung. Sylvain notes that if you want to try the Silverado, come see him.
Oh,
So,
well, Sylvain, you have my Model S right now. I'll come check out your Silverado when my Model S is ready. I'm just kidding.
right.
We're not in a hurry. Yeah, my Model S is having some issues right now, and it's at Sylvain's shop in Trois-Rivières.
All right. Aptera's freakish good look should help them sell once they hit the road. Not as much need to advertise, or any owner will be a good spokesperson, assuming it's well built. Good points.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people I talked to really like the look of without even that's when you know you have a good product, because obviously the Aptera solar car is not designed for its looks. It's designed to be super efficient. So if you manage to make a car that's designed to be efficient and like people actually like all the way it looks, like you have something very interesting on your hands here. So I like Aptera for that.
All right. Local BMW sales guy told me that their EVs are cheaper than their ICE because of lease payments, and there's a tax credit on the lease payments. Their sales staff are driving them, which helps. Good. Like to see that. Hopefully
Yeah, the lease loophole has been very surprising to me. Like when it's like an official loophole, I guess, and now everyone is taking advantage of it.
I wonder if like the leasing companies pushed for that or lobbied for that or something. I wonder why it exists like that. All right, if Germany is talking about phasing out the fuel and not the cars that use them, that's huge, but it wasn't. So timing is super slow. Is EV demand actually down, or sales just slower than auto execs forecasted? Yeah, that's one of the misnomers, I guess, that's been happening recently. It's not that EV sales are down. The acceleration of EV growth has slowed. So important to
it's a growth rate that slows down, not the overall demand.
Yep. Are there other EVs with something like Tesla's dash cam Sentry mode? Thanks. I don't miss any episode.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you,
Patricio.
Rivian has it, right?
Rivian, yep.
Yeah, Rivian has it. Others?
Don't
Not
know.
on top of my head. Not on top of my head. Like when it comes to software, like this is a software product. Obviously, like if you have cameras on your vehicle, then it's just a software problem after that. And most vehicles have cameras on them these days. But other than Tesla and Rivian, like a lot of automakers have a software disadvantage against these newer companies that are software first. But the good news is that they are trying to catch up now. I know Ford is a good example. Ford is getting very serious about software. They see that's where they lack an advantage towards Tesla and Rivian. So I think we're going to see a lot of copycats out there, like going to copy all those features those cool software features that Tesla and Rivian has.
Yeah, and they have Doug Field as well, who was a former Tesla and Apple guy. So
yeah, they're getting more serious about it. There's no doubt about it. All right, well, that's it for us this week. So I appreciate to every single one of you that listened to the show this week. And so we're going to have an interesting episode next week, something to look forward to, because we're going to have a section just for Aptera. And I'm getting really excited. So I want to let Seth go so that I can get all the scoops after each time. All right, thank you, everyone. We're going to